It was Gandhiji's favorite hymn and for decades has been the closing act of beating retreat, but it will now be replaced. We're here to talk about Abide With Me and the controversy surrounding it. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're watching the Mojo Story. Let's take you through the key developments of this rather intriguing military story. Beating retreat, which brings an end to the Republic Day celebrations every year, has traditionally ended with a rendition of Abide With Me, Mahatma Gandhi's favorite hymn, or among them. It is to be replaced by another military favorite. Lata Mangeshkar, of course, famously had a rendition of Mere Watan Ke Logo, and now a military rendition of that will close Beating Retreat instead. This change, of course, also comes a couple of days after the Amar Jawan Jyoti was moved from India Gate and merged with the flame at the National War Memorial. Sources in the government are describing this as a break from a colonial past, but others, including within the military community, are protesting against this change of the military ethos. We're here to talk about what this change represents and how we should respond to it. Not just one change, but as we said, coupled, as many people have done, with the merging of the Amar Jawan Jyoti. Let's introduce our guests on the program today. Welcoming to the program, Major General Ashok Kumar. Welcome, General Kumar, to the program. Also great to have back with us General Dhruv Katoch. Welcome, sir, to the program. We're also joined by historian Professor Irfan Habib. Good to see you again, sir. Tushar Gandhi, who's of course an author, but also the great-grandson of the Mahatma, is with us. Welcome to the program, Tushar. And we're also joined by Col Pavan Nair, who's a veteran of the military and whose rendition of Abide With Me online on Twitter has somewhat gone viral ever since this controversy first erupted. Let me start with you, if I can, General Katoch. Change is inevitable. As they say, change is the only constant of life. But every change sometimes has a meaning, sometimes has a reason. In this particular case, nobody is quite able to understand why a hymn that we have all learned in school, a hymn that all military men and women are familiar with, why would it go? Mere Watan Ke Logo is stirring, but both could have existed. Why does one have to, in a way, replace the other? Your thoughts on this today, General Katoch. So you're on mute. Sir, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Yeah. Barkha, I just want to give a little background. You see, my grandfather fought in the First World War, the Great War. He was awarded the Military Cross. And since then, every single battle which has been fought by the Indian Armed Forces, my family has taken part. I go back very long as far as traditions are concerned. Now, as far as military music is concerned, it has always changed. There has never been a constant that, okay, there is a particular tune and that will remain forever. From the time we passed out from the National Defense Academy, when my father passed out, when I passed out, until the present day, every single tune has changed. There is nothing sacrosanct about a tune. It is not a tradition. These are customs. And I want to differentiate here between customs and traditions. A tradition is something which is noble, which is great. Like in the army, we have a tradition. We will not leave any man behind. In the army, we have a tradition for the officers. The officers will lead from the front. Those are traditions. The dress which I put on, I'm putting on a scarf. This is a custom. Okay, I may put on a scarf. The uniform which I wear, those are customary uniforms. They may change. So changing as far as the final song, Abide With Me, I think is absolutely in order. In fact, it should have been changed a long time ago. Speak to any student in any college of India, go to the villages, speak. Nobody has heard of Abide With Me except for a small English-speaking elite. That's it, less than 1% of the country. This particular parade, when we talk about it, the Republic Day celebrations, it is for the people of India. It is to commemorate the martyrs. And that is why replacing it with Mere Watan Ke Logo is most appropriate, most apt. And I would actually support it. I supported it last year, I support it now, and I'm glad that this change has taken place.
I agree with you, sir, about the difference between tradition and custom. I also agree with you that custom is forever adapting. But because the focus has been only on one particular song, right? Abide With Me, that is why it has raised a certain degree of skepticism as to the motive, as to the reason. Could you shed a little more light on that? You said you agreed with it even earlier when the suggestion was made. Why? Is it the reason of lack of accessibility for a contemporary generation? Is it something else? We hear whispers about a colonial past, but beating retreat itself is a colonial custom. Itself is a colonial tradition.
No, not really. You see, even from ancient times, you see, when the battles closed, this is part of Indian customs. When the battles closed, we ceased battle at last night. Right? Now, of course, we have modern war fighting techniques and we fight throughout the day. But please take it from me. Every single tune in beating retreat since the time it was first institutionalized till now has changed. Tunes change. When I was a young cadet in the National Defense Academy, we were marching to, the Colonel Bogey March. Nobody marches to Colonel Bogey March now. There are various military tunes which have come up, and every year more and more tunes are added. So I think we need to Indianize everything. You see, it is part of us. And are we so incapable that we can't get a tune which is ours? And my last point, I think, which also needs to be, though I didn't give it much relevance earlier, but now let me talk about it. We are a secular country, right? If you're a secular country, then keep religion out of it. And what are the last words of this particular hymn? Hold thou thy cross before my closing eyes, shine through the gloom, and print and point me to the skies. Heaven's morning breaks and earth's vain shadows flee. In life, in death, O Lord, abide with me. It is a hymn to Jesus Christ, right? Why should you sing a hymn to Jesus Christ on the beating retreat? Is something which I haven't understood. There are many places where you can sing this hymn. I go to church. I'm not a Christian. I go to church. I will sing this hymn. That is not the problem at all. So let us do something for beating the retreat. And when you actually sing, when you have the final tune as "Ae Mere Watan Ke Logo," 1.38 billion people of India can relate to that tune. That is the important point. It is a tribute to the soldiers who have given their life for the country, which is why I very strongly urge that there should be no controversy over an issue like this. It is a great change. I'm not worried about colonial past and colonial futures. That is irrelevant. But we must go with the times, and the times are changing. Yes, this is the time to have our own tunes. Barkha.
Okay, sir. Thank you. That's a very passionate defense, as it were, and explanation also the distinction between tradition and custom. I'll come to General Kumar in a moment, but Colonel Pavan Nair, because you feel otherwise, and the reason we know this is because we saw you, in a sense, offering a rendition of this hymn online. Are you persuaded by General Katoch's argument a little bit that tradition and custom are different, that there is a need to Indianize the military, that there is a need to have music that is more accessible to today's time? How do you see it, Colonel Nair?
I would like to differ with the general because firstly, some tunes will never change. Right from the beginning, we've been passing out with Auld Lang Syne. It will. We always mark. It will never change. Auld Lang Syne is in the same class. Some tunes, and it is a hymn. It was actually introduced because Mahatma Gandhi liked it at the beginning. And it's been played for 57. And it is a beautiful marching tune. And the chimes played from the rampart and the soft joining of the band. It was the actually culmination of the retreat. And then the bands turn around and the lights come on and they march off with Sare Jahan Se Acha. Tomorrow, will you change that tune, Sare Jahan Se Acha, for marching off? And also, I think there is a beautiful piece of music. Take it as a piece of music, which is played traditionally at the for the last 70 years. So you can add. Please do. There's nothing wrong with "Ae Mere Watan Ke Logo." It's a beautiful song. You can have both.
Yeah. So let me just come in. Let me just come in here, and I think that's sounds similar to the argument we had about the flames. Why not have two flames when the Amar Jawan Jyoti was merged with the flame at the National War Memorial? And some tunes are not replaceable according to Colonel Nair. General Kumar, if I can bring your perspective in now. Go ahead, sir. So you're on mute, sir.
Certain aspects have already been stated by General Katoch and certain aspects by Colonel Nair. But I wish to highlight certain aspects the way I see it. Firstly, the change is only thing permanent, which has already been said. In fact, there is no thing about which we can say today that it will not change in future. Anything and everything may change. Who knows that tomorrow when the beating the retreat ceremony may not be there. So firstly, we must accept change. Second, the controversy which has erupted, that is primarily because of two reasons. Which is actually people have come out with that nitpicking later. One is that it is being changed because it is a Christian hymn. Second, it is being changed despite being Mahatma Gandhi's preferred song. Now I wish to highlight that once we inherited number of customs, traditions from British colonial powers, because our army took roots from there and thereafter continued. Now in that certain things which were in practice, in fact this particular hymn which is being discussed for change is as old as from 19th century and being played at number of places and number of occasions both for sorrow and happiness. So it came. Now Mahatma Gandhi is not hostess to a particular song. He is our father of the nation. He emerges at the world stage as someone who is unparalleled. He was assassinated on 30th January 1948, and this beating the retreat ceremony in India was started on 26th January 1950. That is, after he had already departed. I, for one, do not know whether this song was included because it was choice of Mahatma Gandhi ji. It was one of the very popular songs which was being played by our predecessors in various military forums. Be that as it may. So change per se is not bad. But if we are changing for something better based on our current perceptions, that is something which must be welcomed. But if we are changing for the sake of it, I think that needs to be relooked at.
How do you feel about this particular hymn being removed?
So I am not against this hymn being removed. It is perfectly fine. I am more concerned about the song with which it has been replaced. That song has been sung by iconic Lata Mangeshkar ji, written by poet Pradeep, and it was first publicly sung in a stadium in Delhi in January 63. After our debacle of 1962 war, which was between 20th October 62 to 21st November 62. So while it has binded the whole nation together, and even if you hear it today, you will be very, very emotive. While it in a larger sense gives respect to all the soldiers who have laid down their life, but it is predominantly a greater connect with 1962 war, which is not a good memory both for Indian armed forces as well as for nation as a whole. Now today you just see we are on another kind of conflict with China. On line of actual control, we are face to face standing, and the number of the quantum of mobilization which has been done, it is after 62 is the largest as far as against China is concerned. So in a situation like this, should we be reminded of 1962 time? I feel it is different because after 1962 also we have given good beating to China.
So let me come in here. One of the things that is very telling is that I believe that change is constant, and because change is constant, what once was a symbol of A soon becomes a symbol of B. So if Mere Watan ke logo was once a reminder of that debacle with China, as you say, today it's not seen like that. And similarly, if Abide With Me was once a reminder of something sort of colonial moodings. Today it's not seen like that because the icons and the symbols of history are quite dynamic. Tushar Gandhi, let's bring you in as someone who's from, represents the legacy of Gandhiji. How do you see this entire controversy? You've heard perspectives from three different military men, three different perspectives. General Katoch welcomes the change completely. Colonel Nair says, Galat hua. And General Kumar says, I'd welcome the change, but not the song that replaces it. Go ahead, Tushar, and please unmute yourself also. Go ahead, Tushar.
Hi, Barkha. I think I'm unmuted. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
for me, it doesn't matter whether it was a favorite hymn of Bapu or not, because there were other hymns that were also his favorite hymns. So it really doesn't matter whether it was favorite of Bapu and so it should be retained, or it has been removed because it was a favorite of Bapu. Whatever the reason, it's not an important enough reason for me to take offense about. What I feel is that Abide With Me also represents the syncretic culture and tradition that we have in India and our ideal of including everybody in the national identity and entity. And at this moment, when around Christmas we saw the hate campaign, we saw the campaigns against the Christians happening countrywide, this will be seen as another act against the Christian presence in India. And I think that is sending out a very bad and wrong message for me. And for that reason, I would, and I am, protesting the removal of Abide With Me from the Beating the Retreat ceremony. If we have such a big aversion to the colonial inheritance we have and all that, then take out everything. All colonial traditions, all colonial commemorations should be removed and replaced by what is acceptable to us. But even when we do that, I don't think we should forget that we are still not a Hindu nation. We are still.
Can I just present General Katoch's argument and ask you to respond? You see this as a continued signaling against a religious minority, again, in this particular case, the Christians. General Katoch argues that it is an overtly religious hymn and therefore it should not be at the beating retreat at all, at a military sort of function. How do you respond to that, Tushar?
Well, that is a different matter. I don't see it as just, because of the last stanza, as purely hymn to Jesus Christ. But of course, so people can say, yes, why have that then? And then we have a tradition from our national anthem also. Tagore wrote a longer song. We chose stanzas and we play it as our national anthem. So if that one stanza of praise to Jesus is offensive, why remove the song? And at this particular time, when there is a sense of persecution being felt by all the minorities, why this measure at this particular time? See, timing also makes a very big difference, sends out a wrong message. And so why this kind of a very overtly wrong message is being sent out at this juncture is beyond me.
Okay, I'll get the generals to respond to this, but let me first go to Professor Irfan Habib. History has become the battlefield of the present in many ways. Professor Habib, for the times that we live in, we seem to be constantly debating something historic instead of debating the present or the future. How do you see this development, Professor Habib, through a historical lens?
Yeah, as you rightly said, history is being discussed and debated more than the present and future. And so for me, what has happened today is part of a continuum. It's not something which has happened suddenly out of nowhere. There are so many things which have happened before this, and they keep happening every other day, and all related to the past. In the past, I think 1 week, several things have happened. You have mentioned about Netaji's statue, shifting of Amar Jawan Jyoti. Now, all this has happened, and this particular Abide With Me issue is actually part of that. I see, I agree with General Katoch that things change, and there is nothing permanent. But there is some sense of history which we have to live with. Now you cannot have a disconnect with the past totally. Now you just have to continue with a couple of things which have been part of our tradition, because you can't live in the present alone. You have to live in the past, present, and future. So this total de-link with the past has actually no meaning. And there should be such attempt at all, because you cannot succeed in that. So there will be something or the other left which has connections with the past. And
Okay.
the second thing is that as Tushar just said, many things which are being done are not being done in a very politically correct perspective. There are lots of things happening in the country. Whatever change you do today, and sad thing is that "Ae Mere Watan Ke Logo" has been it's like a binary, either or. I love "Ae Mere Watan Ke Logo." You cry each time you hear that. So there is no dislike for that song. That is love. We all love that. But because we love that, so we don't have to really replace something else which was loved by our fathers and
As a historian, how do you see two things that have happened in a quick succession? The merging of the eternal flame with the flame at the war memorials.
That was again a very. I don't see this merger. Merger. I don't know what sort of a word is it. You extinguish a flame, and you say that you are merging it. No, you just can't do it. You can continue with both. Now, my brother has been an army veteran. He's a doctor, and we belong to the army family. We can say there are so many people in the army even now, Air Force to Navy. But this thing is something amazing, because India Gate Amar Jawan Jyoti should have continued as it is. There is no issue with war memorial. Okay, one can come up with. Second thing, which I hear quite often last 1 week, that there were no names, of the 1971 Shaheeds over there, or people who died later on. How can you do that? Because we have China, hostile nation, Pakistan. Shahadat may happen again.
Yeah.
I wish it doesn't happen again, but you cannot rule out. So how long can you go on building memorials? So
let me take that to General Katoch. Hang on. Yeah. You're saying
was symbolic.
Yeah. Yes, I understand what you're saying. General Katoch, here's a couple of questions for you. One is, why erase or replace instead of adding? Whether it is the flame or debate or abide with me. So please bring in "Ae Mere Watan Ke Logo." Why does abide with me have to go is one question. General Kumar is not convinced of the song that has been used to replace that closing act. And how far back in history do you go to Indianize something? When does something stop? We have reclaimed a number of British/foreign symbols, including, as I said, Beating Retreat itself, Rashtrapati Bhavan, so many things that could have been colonial symbols, we have made our own. We have made them our own. They have a different context today. General Katoch, please.
Barkha, on this, firstly on the flames, I think I want to set this controversy to rest. When the flame was actually put, the Amar Jawan Jyoti was put in 1972, at that time we did not have a war memorial. Now, my father was in service, and I asked him, I said, what is the reason? That time he had met the Adjutant General of the Indian Army, and the ruling was that as and when we get the war memorial, we will shift to that place. You see, so even from 1972, when the Amar Jawan Jyoti came up, where it is presently located, even at that time, it was stated that when the National War Memorial comes up, we will shift to that place. There will be some record available for that somewhere in the army. There'll be some letter, unless they have destroyed those correspondences, being about 50 years old. So that was one. So it was always intended to be replaced. I don't know why this controversy took place. Now, the question of the merger was, you are taking a flame from one and you are placing it at the other point, right? It is symbolic. Obviously, we know that it is going to be extinguished, but it is symbolic that, listen, we were here and now we are coming to the other place. And it was always meant to be so. So why the controversy erupted? I think it has been a deliberate attempt to create a controversy when none existed. For 50 years, everybody had an opportunity to create the National War Memorial, and nobody did it. So now that it has come up, there suddenly seems to be an angst. Now, all wars of India from henceforth, any person who gives his life for the country, their names will come up in the National War Memorial, period. Right? So we have, right from 1947 onwards, till the present day, till today, any person from the armed forces who has laid down his life, it is there. I have been to the National War Memorial 3 times. It is a very moving experience. And I would urge people, the people of India, to go there with their families and pay their respects. It is something which they won't understand. Now, the other point, nobody is saying dealing with the past. We have to get back to our past. The whole point is that our past has been distorted. The history which I was taught in school, I was taught British history. Nobody taught me about Indian history. I was taught that Clive was a hero. I was taught that every single Indian which you see there was a rascal and a scoundrel. And this sort of a history which has come up, you see, it is from the point of view of the people who conquered this land.
Okay, let me bring in
get history from the perspective of the people who are living here. You see, that very famous African quote, till such time as the lions get their own historian, the history of the hunt will always praise the hunter. You see,
I get what you're saying. Yeah, let me get Professor Habib to respond to that, and then Tushar.
One small point, on the
okay.
I don't know.
Once again, Irfan. Once again, I don't know why.
In the country, no, it is wrong to say. The question of closing Mother Teresa's account, there were 35,000 other accounts which are also closed. They still remain closed, but Mother Teresa's account has now been opened. You see, just because it is an account which belongs to the missionaries of charity, does not exempt them from obeying the laws of India. So they must conform to those laws, and their accounts will be opened. Where's the problem? This is the only country which is the most secular and democratic.
Let me bring in Professor. Yes, thank you, sir. Let me bring in Professor Irfan Habib. We'll have a separate program, maybe on what's happened with Mother Teresa, FCRA, what's been happening in Karnataka vis-a-vis the Christian groups. I want to pick up your point on the decolonization, Professor Irfan Habib, the sort of argument that you need a subaltern version of history, that you need to decolonize the history that we've been taught. My question only is, how far does that go? Because so much of our architecture, so many of our customs, so much of our language is an inherited past that we have readapted to our own reality. But General Katoch raises an interesting point about a history told by the oppressors and a history told by the subalterns or by those who resisted the oppressors. Go ahead, Professor Habib.
No, but I don't understand where is the disagreement in this. Because history has already been disconnected with the history written by the British. We don't teach history written by Winston Smith anymore. No, there are nationalist historians who began writing history before independence itself, from 1940s onwards. Our scientists like P.C. Ray wrote history during colonial times. And since then, we have different schools of thought. Left is the most derided one, but left had its own perspective. No, one may disagree with that, but it was not colonial history which was being written by them. Or the subalterns later on, which was again offshoot of the left historiography. Nationalist historians wrote their own history, from Ashok to so many others which followed. So history has been written. There is no history after independence which celebrates Clive. I don't know where you read that book. At least we haven't got celebration of Clive anywhere. No.
Sir, at the end, I just want to take last comments now. General Kumar, and then I'll give Tushar the last word. General Kumar, you're not convinced of what is replacing what. My question to you is, how far will we go on replacing? When is that threshold when we say this is purely Indian? Because we are an eclectic mix of so many different influences, including of our colonial history. We are. How do we erase our colonial history? We have reclaimed it. That is the best we can do.
Actually, you must see the context. This change has been done when we are celebrating 75 years and a Amrit Mahotsav in India. And probably towards that, they found this occasion right to look for this change, which has been done, as has been known to everybody. But when the change was done, while I have already said that this song, is a very, very emotive song, and it actually makes you weep even if you, hear it today. But that notwithstanding, it is a serious connect of 1962 loss with China. And if you read the words, there are three places where it automatically connects. That it talks of Himalaya, it talks of Parvat, it talks of our people killing 10 people before dying. And in any case, it was done in January 63, and everybody will accept that it has a strong linkage of 1962. But now, when we are a resurgent India, when we have done enough bashing of even China, you see, 1967 we gave him a bashing in Nathula and Chola. We did that in Samdurangchu in 1987. We did same in Doklam in 2017, and today also we are standing as a rock against him on the line of actual control. And if tomorrow the battle takes place, possibility of which cannot be ruled out, do we wish to tell our armed forces personnel and country that we have to be a people of 1962? We have to bring our victorious percept in the mind and motivation of the people. We have done 71. You have yourself reported in such a big way in Kargil, during off visit. So we are a nation of a different kind. We are at the cusp of emerging as a world leader. So at this
Yes.
point of time, I think the old legacy has to be left back, and something new which synergizes with our place. That is something which should have been.
Okay. Okay, sir. Tushar Gandhi, the last thoughts to you. You say you don't agree with this replacement. General Kumar has a completely different argument for why he doesn't agree with what has replaced Abide with Me. Your closing thoughts today, sir. Tushar.
I think very strongly we need to get out of this methodology of replacing things. It's not at all. We're pitting everything against one another, against the other, one against the other. Because we cherish so and so, we have to replace so and so. Because we want so and so song, we have to replace so and so song. This goes against the idea of an inclusive India. And I don't agree with the thought that because we are modernizing, we have to become an exclusive India. Because this is where we are going now. We are excluding people, we are excluding things, we are excluding objects, we are excluding history because it doesn't sound right to us. Where will we stop? So finally, are we going to become isolationist India? And if that is what we are heading towards, then it has to be opposed at every step that is taken towards that direction.
Okay, we will have to leave on this note of agreeing to disagree. As you can see, there is no consensus in the conversation we've had today. Very diverse views. Apologies, Colonel Nair had a terrible line. He couldn't reconnect with us. Thank you, General Katoch, General Kumar, Professor Habib, and Mr. Tushar Gandhi. I just want to underline that the Forge, for people who do not come or from a military background or do not have exposure to them, one of its great tradition is the MMG tradition, the Mandir Masjid Gurdwara concept, the Sarv Dharm Sthals. The military has always represented a multitude of faiths where the commanding officer takes on the faith often and the customs, as both the generals know, of his men, of his soldiers, and that is the spirit of India. So while we continue to disagree, we leave you today with the strains of Abide With Me, and this debate will carry on to our panel. Thank you very much. Take a listen in, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Goodbye. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.